Today, we're talking about one of the most uncomfortable moments at work and sometimes in life when you don't agree. When your boss says something, a colleague proposes an idea, or a decision is being made. And initially, you're thinking, that's not the direction I would go. You guys, I'm not even through the teaser, and my mind has like five stories that have come to mind in just reading that little intro. So I'm sure you all are connecting with something I'm saying here too. So internally, we're thinking that's not the direction I would go. But instead of saying it clearly, we hesitate. We start thinking, how do I say this without making things awkward? What if I sound difficult? What if I'm wrong? And so you either stay quiet, soften it so much it doesn't land, or over explain, trying to make it acceptable. Today, we're going to give you exactly what to say in those moments so you can disagree clearly, confidently, and without over explaining. Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together. If you're listening to this and thinking, this is exactly what I struggle with, we want to invite you to share it with a friend and leave a review. This helps other people find us. So I'm going to tell you a story about a meeting that I was in uh, that took place. It was a group meeting, and the the person that I was disagreeing with, or who made this comment that I'm going to share in just a minute, technically on paper, we were kind of in the same position, but culturally, there was a hierarchy, there was a structure, and I was technically, culturally beneath them in the hierarchy. And we were planning an activity, and this individual, this individual brought up an idea of certain members of this group planning this activity and providing for this activity, and logistically, it made no sense. There were other members of the group that could have done the same thing, and but again, like culturally, in terms of like work culture, this is where these responsibilities often rested. And I was a newcomer to this situation, but I just looked at it and I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would we task these individuals with this project in situations that are going to exacerbate stress and kind of chaos, and just honestly, it just wasn't fair to task these individuals with this. And so I found myself trying really hard to figure out like how to say it in a way. My first thought is always, I don't want to be difficult, right? And I wanted to be very straightforward because I knew that if I wasn't clear and I wasn't straightforward, that they would be tasked with something else that was just as logistically impossible. And so there was this part of me that was going back and forth between like wanting to disagree in a way that was helpful, and not coming across as adversarial, but also very clear so that the responsibility of these tasks didn't fall onto people that didn't have the means to do it just because it was acceptable in the work culture. It was kind of a difficult situation. Anyways, I did end up saying something, and and I just mentioned like, hey, these are the tasks that these individuals are already assigned. It logistically makes no sense to add this task to their list of responsibilities. Perhaps these individuals can do it. And the boss was actually one of the individuals that I suggested take on this task. And at first it was there was silence, and then it was something along the lines, well, I guess we could kind of do that. And then there was the question of, well, how do we do it? And I was like, well, you figure it out. I just remember being so furious in that moment because it was quite honestly, it was sexist. It was a sexist request. It was essentially the women in this group being assigned this task, and there were already so many responsibilities that they were trying to manage. And so, yeah, I found myself feeling really angry, and I wanted to disagree. And I also wanted to be tactful, but I also wanted to be clear. There was just so much going on. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think in scenarios when we do disagree, there are often many, many layers
Yes.
of things. And so to get really clear on what you're disagreeing about and how you're going to go forward is really important. And that is actually what we are going to talk about. Before we hop into that, though, I do want to talk about the importance of respect of people and being on the same page. Like it sounds like you guys were all clear on what you were wanting to accomplish.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of power in that when you're having a disagreement because you're united on the end goal.
Yes.
And so that can be like work very much to your advantage when you're having a disagreement. And so when you are, you all respect this end goal and you want to get there in a respectful way, it's really helpful. So we're going to talk about a few ways to handle this.
So, we're going to give you a clear structure for how to disagree without over explaining, without softening it in any way, and without sounding harsh. And we're going to do it through real scenarios. Most women build up to their disagreement. They start with agreement, context, explanation, and the actual point gets buried. And this is so hard what I was wrestling with. I didn't want the point to get buried. And this happens frequently because we're trying to ease into it. We're trying not to disrupt the room, like all the things that I was trying to say earlier. But here's what happens. People don't actually know what we're saying. Like what we want to say gets lost. And so what we can do instead is say the disagreement clearly and first. So instead of saying, I can see how that would work, and I was thinking maybe blah, 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 we can say, I see it differently, and then pause. Instead of, I'm not sure, but maybe we could blah, 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 blah. Say, I don't think this is the right direction, and then pause. Clear doesn't mean harsh, it means understandable. And now those are very direct words. Those are words that I would probably use, and not everybody has to use those words exactly that way, but the gist of it is being very, very clear and starting with a disagreement. So, however that sounds or feels to you, I would recommend moving in that direction.
And be comfortable with that pause
Hmm.
be comfortable with that silence, that initial silence of like, oh, because it means it's landing and
Yeah.
they're thinking, we're thinking about what has just happened. So
Yeah.
this is where over explaining really can take over. You feel like you need to fully justify your disagreement. So you give multiple reasons, extra context, long explanations, because you're trying to make your disagreement feel valid. And here's the truth. One clear reason is enough. Use this simple structure. Your disagreement plus one reason. So instead of, I just think there's a lot of factors and timing might be off, we should consider, say, I don't think this will work because the timing is off. Then just stop. Another example, instead of giving this long explanation, you could say, I see risk here with one specific issue. If people want more, they will ask. You don't need to front load everything. You're not responsible for everybody's thoughts, feelings, emotions, and reactions to a situation.
And another suggestion is to stay present. Don't backtrack. So after you say something direct, there's often the moment of silence, the pause that we were suggesting, and that silence can feel uncomfortable. We talked about this 2 episodes ago. So what do we typically do? We jump back in by saying, but I could be wrong. I mean, it's just an idea. Or whatever you all think. Because we're trying to relieve the discomfort. But what you're actually doing is undoing your own clarity. So here's how to make the shift. Say your point, then stay present. Let the silence happen. Let others respond. Staying present requires you to be somewhat comfortable with the discomfort in the room, right? To being able to tolerate that uncertainty. If you need a follow-up, use something grounded. So instead of saying, but I could be wrong, you could say something like, that's my perspective. Instead of backtracking, you could say, I'm curious how other people are seeing it. This way, you're staying engaged without taking it back. Essentially, you're standing on business.
Let's bring this together. When you don't agree, your job is not to make it perfect. Your job is to make it clear. So remember, say the disagreement first, give one reason, and don't backtrack. Stay present. And here's the belief we want you to take with you. Disagreement does not damage relationships. Unclear communication does. And here's your challenge. In your next moment of disagreement, big or small, use this exact structure. I see it differently. I think, and then give your one clear point. Because your one reason. Then stop. That will be enough. That's how you start building trust in your own voice.
If this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs help speaking up. Until next time, speak clearly, listen bravely. When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.